Hey, welcome or welcome back. My name's Alan, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a double backer. Stay tuned. So to make a double facer or a double backer, it requires the exact same technique, so no matter what you're trying to do, this video will be helpful for you. I'm going to use a red and a blue card there. That way it's just easy to follow in the video. I'll mention this too. Yes, you can do it yourself. It depends on your budget, what you and your time constraints, right? If you're just trying to make a single card and you don't want to buy an entire deck of double facers or double backers, you just need a single one for routine. Make it yourself. It takes maybe 5 minutes to do, so it's not a big deal. If it's something that you're using a lot and you're going through a lot of them, it might make more sense to just go ahead and buy a commercially valuable product. I have links in the description below where you can find double backers and double facers just already pre-made for you. If time is of the essence, you're going through a lot of these, it could be just better investment of your money and time to just buy. Okay, let's go ahead and pop down to the arts and crafts view. Welcome to arts and crafts view. So this is not that difficult, but the first thing you need to know how to do is split cards. That is a little bit knacky and will take some practice. You will probably screw up at least a dozen times before you start to get the handle of it, but I'll show you basically what you're doing here. You have a card. You always want to go for a non-index corner, right? These are the indexes here. So you always want to go for one of the white spaces. And the reason you do that is you are aiming to, you're going to have to break the card like this. This is what's called breaking an edge or breaking a corner. And the reason you do that on one of the white sides is so that way when people are looking at the card, if there is any weirdness, it's going to be up in an area where nobody cares about it, nobody looks at it. So give that a little bit of a break there. And I'm just going to see if I can peel this for you right on camera. Now I trim my nails extremely short. So something I do sometimes, and this is going to be awkward in the camera, but what I do is I'll use a razor blade. Be careful with this, of course. If you're under age, make sure you get an adult's help. But here's what we're going for. I want to go for the face. A playing card is made of 3 layers, essentially. There is the front paper layer. There's the center, which is the glue binder, which has graphite embedded in it, which makes it opaque. And then the back layer. So whenever you're thinking about playing cards, you want to think about them behaving in 3 layers. And when you break a corner, you're trying to get just the very tissue thin layer there. So I use a razor blade to kind of get in there a little bit to help me. I'm not cutting the paper. I'm just using it to get my a little bit more of a edge there. Now that we've got that, this is where the delicate, difficult part comes in. We're going to need to separate the rest of this sheet here from the rest of the card. And they're glued really well. So how do you do this? Well, there's a couple of different methods. My favorite method that I don't see shown a lot on the YouTube for some reason is the edge, the table edge method. And I'm going to adjust the camera here in just a second so you can see what that looks like. Okay, welcome to corner table edge view. See, now I have this nice sharp right angle on my table. You're going to want to get a table with a nice sharp right angle. If you have a rounded corner there, or it's got a cut pattern in it, like, some of those antique decorative tables, won't work. You really want a sharp edge there. A lot of kitchen counters work great too. So you've got the side that you want to remove, which is, in this case, since I'm doing a double backer, the face of the playing card. You want to place the thin side towards the table. Feels counterintuitive, but trust me, this is the way to do it. And then you're going to get just enough of a break in there to get your 2 thumbs kind of in there. You want to be careful. This is a part where it really can rip, okay? So just enough that you can get a grip on both sides. And then I'm going to peel with this hand back as I slide the thin edge over the table. It's almost like you're curling a ribbon. It's a very similar process. As you've already ripped the card, but there's a way to deal with that. You don't want to, you can stop there, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll around the edge. The reason I'm using the edge here is because it creates a nice even pressure, so it's much harder to tear the paper in any one spot. Like that. And then I worked my way all around the card. Yeah, I had that rip there, but I was able to just peel around the rip, so no big deal. Some people will tell you, a lot of gimmick makers will tell you that you should keep this piece, you know, if it provided it didn't have a rip in it, you want to keep that piece and use that to glue to another card. I think that's not a good idea. I have never got a good, consistent card that way. When you glue it later, you end up seeing all these bumps from the paper and the unevenness that ends up showing through the very thin paper of the other card, and it doesn't look smooth. It doesn't look good. So I always get rid of the thin faces. I don't use them for anything. It may be an unpopular opinion, but I glue well, 2 layers from one card and 2 layers from another card together to make actually a 4-layer card. It's a little slightly thicker than a normal playing card, but it's almost imperceptible, especially if you're a layman. You won't be able to tell the difference. Now we're just going to go ahead and do the same thing with this 2 of diamonds. Okay, now I've done it with the second card, and so now we have 2 cards like this with the faces removed. This is 2 layers. This is 2 layers. I'm going to glue these together, but before I do that, I want to flatten them out just a little bit. That's going to be really hard to glue down to the other one when they're all wanky like that. So what we do is we just give it a little bit of a curl on the edge of the table to kind of remove some of that. You ever curled a ribbon with like a pair of scissors? It's basically the exact same thing. You're just trying to put an opposite curl in the card so that it lays a little flatter. Okay, so now we have the 2 pieces here. We're going to use rubber cement. This here I have is Craft Bond rubber cement from Elmer's. Just regular old rubber cement worked just fine. This is just what I was able to find locally and what I have available with me right now. You do not want to use too much of this. There's a tendency to want to overdo it. So I hold the card here. I do my layers all the way to the edge. You want this to get sealed up, so you want to make sure you're really getting those corners and edges well. And then you just slap it on like that, okay? So there's one card. While that one's drying, we'll go ahead and do the other one. Now I'm using my cutting board in this video. It's made of plastic, and so I'm able to just kind of rub away the rubber cement after it dries, anything that bleeds over to the edge. But you can use a piece of newspaper or scrap paper and just throw it away when you're done so that we don't ruin your table. And here's what you want. You want the cards just about all the way dry. Rubber cement works best whenever you take dry, and then you adhere it to itself, and it sticks really, really well. So I wait till these cards are just about all the way dry before I adhere them to one another.
A few moments later.
Okay, now we have to line them up and get them exactly perfect. This is a little tricky. I have a method which is probably not the best method for getting these to line up, but I hold one in my hand like this, using my index finger and thumb as a guide, and then I lay the other one on top and try to connect those corners perfectly. You'll see other contraptions and gimmicks and things that you can use to help with that. One of the big ones being a flat board with a raised piece of metal on it. You can raise this up to like this. Now, these doesn't work exactly perfectly because it has to go underneath the ruler, but that might just work fine. You want a flat edge to slide them up to, and then you scooch them together, and then just touch them. Just touch them together, and then they will adhere to one another. And then you just close it like a book, and you have those perfectly aligned. They'll be perfectly aligned. Now, the reason I'm able to do that without having to build a jig is because I have this cork core to keep it from slipping, and the cards can slide just underneath that and then butt up against that cork core there. You can also just try to eyeball it by hand, but your results may vary. Now the card is loosely together. You want to roll it out. You want to roll it out so that it's adhered all the way through the entire card uniformly. And for that I use this. This is actually a little Play-Doh roller from my son's Play-Doh kit. But you can, of course, use like a kitchen rolling pin, something like that. You just want something smooth and even, and you want to roll it back and forth all the way past the edge, starting gentle at first. And then you want to really crank down on it. You really want to push it as hard as you can, rolling that card. I'm shaking the whole camera here. Sorry about that, but I really want to make sure it's nice and tight. So I'm starting to warp the card a little bit from the pressure that I'm putting on it, and that's totally fine because these will flatten out in a minute. Okay, so now you're left with something like this. You'll notice that there is a little bit of rubber kind of sticking out, or maybe you got overshot and you got some glue on the side or whatever. That's not a big deal. Rubber cement is very easy to rub away. All you have to do is take your finger along the edge here and kind of just brush it back and forth, just kind of polishing the edge and wiping away the excess like this. And here is the finished result. Yes, it is just a tad bit thicker than a normal playing card, but you know, if you're the only one handling these, no big deal. And I guarantee you, no audience member in the world, if they're handling something like this, will they be able to tell the difference between this and a regular playing card. They just won't. With this method too, you don't get any of the weird warping or bubbles or pressing in of the material underneath or the unevenness of the paper underneath. You get a nice smooth card on both sides. So for me, it's worth it to have a little extra thick card so that it looks better. Now this is pretty much ready to use as is, but if you want to go a little extra step, I would recommend, if you can, placing the card into the spine of a book, closing it up and leaving it for 24, 48 hours before using it. The reason that that helps is because the glue has some more time to set, more time to dry, the card gets flatter, and it starts to get some of its snappiness back. Whenever you first glue it together, it'll be a little bit more mushy. So this, if you have the time, is a great way to do it. So there it is. That's how you make a double facer or double backer gimmicked playing card yourself at home. Again, if you don't want to go through the time and effort of doing it yourself, or you're going through so many so quickly that it doesn't make sense to do that, you can check out a look at my link in the description. I'm now an Amazon influencer, and I have a link to where you can go find those gimmicks. And of course, I'll get a little bit of a kickback from that, but you'll be helping the channel, you'll be getting something that you need, and it'll be a win-win-win. So thank you all very much for watching. Before we go, we have to thank our patrons, Mini Jordan Javier, R7 Goodman, and our channel member, It. Thank you all so much for your support. Could not do this without you. Please, if you're even a little bit interested, you want to know how you can help support me in the content that I create, you can take a look at the links in the description. They'll take you to both Patreon and the channel membership information. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I sure am. And you know what? I realized that it would probably be a good idea, if you like this video, to click one of those over here. Either that one or that one. They're both great. In fact, if you love this video so much that you want to throw me a subscribe and a bell notification, good on you, mate. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.